in the Song of Solomon, chapter 2, and we're just going to read one verse, verse 15. Take us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vines, for our vines have tender grapes. Little things. You know, as I was studying for this, I got a copy out of Adam Clark's commentary, and I want to read this to you, and I want you to see what it says here. It says, take us the foxes, that these ruinous to vines all authors allow. They love the vine, and they are eaten in autumn in some countries, according to Galen. When they are left fat and eating the grapes, they abounded in Judah and did most damage when the clusters were young and tender. It is likely that these are the words of the bridegroom to his companions, just as he was entering the apartment of his spouse. Take care of the vineyard. Set traps for the foxes, which are spoiling the vines, and destroy their young as far as possible. And of course, he's taught Christ as the bridegroom, and what he is saying here is that to him, this message was for the church to take care of the vines, take care of the vineyard while I'm gone. I'm coming back, but you just take care of it. I'm leaving you to take care of the vineyard while I'm gone. Don't let the foxes, of course, you remember Jesus called Satan the fox. He said, go tell that fox. And so he's telling us that our job is to take care of the vine, of the vineyard. But I want to talk to you in just a few minutes now. I'll let you go in just a minute. But little things, when you think about little things, a little cloud will hide the sun. Susan and I was out there yesterday in the boat, and just a little cloud went by, just a little small cloud, but it blocked that sun for a few minutes. And I thought about that as I was riding around the boat, and I was thinking about this sermon, them little foxes, thinking about little things that hide us, that keep us from doing what we ought to be doing. It don't take a big thing sometimes. You notice he didn't say nothing about the big foxes. He said the little foxes. Them little foxes, and the reason he did, they'd build walls around their vineyards. And when they'd build them walls around their vineyards, when they'd stack the rocks to build the rock walls, there'd be little holes in those walls, and that little bitty fox could either burrow up under it, or he could go through the little holes in the walls. The big animals, the big foxes, and the big animals that would destroy the vineyard couldn't get in because of the wall. But them little foxes would get in there, and they'd get in when they were, according to nature, when the young foxes were little. It was at the same time that the grapes on the vine were just beginning to come on the vine, and they were tender. Them little foxes would bite the grape and destroy the harvest of the vineyard. It don't take a lot of big things. I don't know if many of you ever been stuck by a thorn, but Susan's had us planting roses. And them things, they stick you, and I'm telling you, it'll be sore for a week where that thing stuck you. And it don't take no big one. It just a little bitty thorn is all it takes to make a big sore. Well, that little thorn causes a lot of pain. Little foxes spoil the vine. What's the point, preacher? Little sins will get us separated from God. And they're the ones that slip up on us. They're the ones that catch us by surprise. You know, big sin, we all looking for them big sins that we guard against them. We guard against committing adultery. We guard against murder. We guard against all of these big sins in our life. But it's the little bitty things that get in our life that separate us from God. And God can't bless us because sin in our life. And, you know, there, as far as God's concerned, there ain't no big sins and no little sins. Sin is sin. We let these little bitty sins creep into our lives. You know, I've been thinking a lot about our young people and why we can't get them in the church, why we can't get them interested in the church. We've got good young people, and they ain't none of them bad kids, but it's the little bitty things that Satan is using to keep them out of the house of God. He'll take some little something and stick it out there, and if you're not careful, he'll steal your joy. Now, us older Christians know that. That's the reason on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, you see this crew here. Because we know that we need the fellowship of the church, and we know we need the fellowship of each other, and we need to meet God. But our young folks hadn't got to the point yet that they realize that. They will one day if God lets them live long enough. They'll get to the point where they understand just like we do. But right now, those little bitty things keeps them out of church. And Satan will, I'm telling you that, he's a crafty fox. He will use anything he can to tear up that vine. Whether it's me, it's you, or whatever. He'll use something, and it don't take a lot, just a little something. If he can slip something in their life that becomes important to them, that'll draw them out of church. Just keep them out. Satan looks at it like this. If I can keep them out of church, number one, they're not praising God. They're not close to God like they should be. They're not getting the food spiritually that they need. So what happens when you don't get the spiritual food you need? You die. You get weak, and the weaker you get, and eventually you die. And don't you think Satan won't slide somebody or something in their lives that'll make them think that that's the greatest thing since applesauce, and the next thing you know, it has separated them from God. I used to tell folks when I'm married, I'd tell them, you need to marry equally yoked. You need to both be Christians. Because you see, Hunter's sitting down here, he's down there, and I get him, give me your hand, son. It's hard for me to pull him up, but it ain't hard for you to pull me down, is it? See? It's a lot easier to pull them down than it is to pull them up. I've heard them say, oh, preacher, I'll get them in church. They're not going right now, but I'll get them in. I said, no. 6 months' time, you'll be out. They won't be going to church, and you won't either, because they will drag you down. And it's those little bitty things that Satan will use to get them out of church. If he can use a ball game, then he'll use a ball game. You know, it ain't just a strange happening that the kids all play ball on Sunday. This travel ball, I've got a niece that's in that thing. And that's when they go, with Saturday and Sunday. They hit the road Friday night and they gone till Sunday night. And they come back in. Travel ball. One of Satan's greatest devices. Amen. Because he takes them out of church. Let me tell you something else. If he can, it ain't just ball, and don't get me wrong, I ain't against ball. In fact, If it'd get them in church, we'd get out here and play ball with them out here beside the church on Sunday afternoons. You say, well, preacher, I don't think that'd be suitable. I don't care whether you like it or not. It's true. I pastored a church one time that was full of young people. I was talking to Brother Billy about it the other day. He asked me, he said, how did you keep, when you was at Second Baptist, how did you keep all of them kids interested? Of course, back then I was young. After church on Sunday, we'd pack picnic lunches and we'd go down to Avondale Park. And I'd play ball with them till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then we'd run in, wash behind their ears, and run back to church. And them kids, I played ball with them on Sunday afternoon, but I brought them back to church on Sunday night. And they came Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Because another thing, they didn't never know what I was going to do next. But there's nothing wrong with good, clean fun if you can get them back in the house of God. But what happens is they get them off and haul off to Huntsville or somewhere like that, and there ain't no way they can get them back to church on Sunday night, and they're gone. And Satan uses that. He knows that, and he uses that. So many more little things that he can use. He'll tell you, oh, it's all right, don't go to church on Sunday night. You went Sunday morning. There ain't no sense in having to go to church twice in one day. Yeah, there is some use in it. You need that spiritual food. We know that. That's the reason we go eat and come back here. Sleepy. Susie telling me I'd have to slap her to keep her awake. Because she eats so much. Should have been like me and just ate a small portion. Well, maybe I didn't say that exactly right. But about a foot tub full, I guess, was a small portion. But if he could use that to keep us out of church, he would. I know, I guess some of them got mad at me this morning when I said what I did about having lunch for the kids more important than coming back to church. They probably got mad at me about that. And they probably see it one way and I see it another way. I see it as little foxes. Not only is it keeping the kids out of church, but it's keeping Mama out of church too, because Mama has to cook for them. Miss Ruby, she wouldn't eat with hers, but she come back to church with them tonight. Thank you, Miss Ruby. You know, and Ken ain't even me. He's back. But, you know, I guess the point I'm trying to make is all these things, you don't think about them. They don't think about them. But that's the very thing that spoils the vine. It's little bitty things that come between us and God will, and the next thing you know, if you ain't careful, the kids will say, well, Mom, ain't no use in you going, you tired, why don't you just stay at home? Turn the radio on and you can listen to them preachers on the radio. You don't have to go to the church.
Yeah.
That's the next thing down the road. I'm telling you, if Satan can get you out of one, then he'll try get you on another, and another, and another. And anything that he can use, and I know sometimes I preach hard, and I preach messages, and I say things that hurts people, but you know what? Sometimes you have to hurt their feelings to get them to thinking. I don't mean to be hard, and I don't mean to say things to people. I don't want to use this pulpit as a whipping post. But if I can get them to thinking about what I see Satan doing in their life, then they can be mad at me all they want to. If it will help them to avoid those little foxes. Now, I love every member of this church. And I want to see every member of this church at their potential. This church has been good to me. Far better than any church I've ever pastored. I probably love this church more than any church that I have ever pastored. You are so special, not just to me, but to Susan too. And I ain't going to let Satan tear this church up if I have to hurt half the feelings in the church to get some folks' attention. I love you. And I love this church. Don't think I ain't watching and I ain't seeing what's going on. That's my job, is to watch and to see what's going on. And it's also my job to stop it if I can. We got revival coming up Sunday. Wednesday night's the last service before we go into our revival. I'm praying that God give us a revival and shake this, not just this church, but this community. We need revival. We need revival probably a lot worse than we even realize that we do. I'm telling you folks, this thing's winding down to the end. If you can't look around, and if you can't just what's going on in every town that you live in little small towns and big towns, it's all the same. You turn on the TV and you see one disaster right after another, and God trying to wake people up, and they're not listening. They're not seeing what's coming down the pipe. I'm telling you, and you listen to me, that 5 years from now, if you think it's bad now, you wait 5 years down the road, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. It's not going to get any better. You know why people, they're trying now to ban guns. Every time you have an incident happen like that did out in California, you have somebody jump up and want to do away with guns. I mean, they didn't have them at the hospital before they had one up there talking about gun control. It ain't the gun that kills people, it's people that kill people. And if you take their guns, they'll use a baseball bat. If they can't get a baseball bat, they'll use a piece of iron pipe, whatever they can get their hands on. It's not the gun, it's the man. It's the person. And it's that evil heart is what it is. They've been setting the stage for this for years and years and years. The worst thing now, Bill, I believe it was, told me that somebody had told him that they had a bill in Congress trying to get prayer started back in schools now. That's good. They shouldn't have never took it out to start with. And I'm telling you, you look out. You watch what I'm telling you. You remember that little old fat preacher told you that every year it's going to get a little worse. People are scared to death. Our young folks are scared to death. They look down the road and they don't see a future. You wonder why they work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. They tried to build some kind of future because they don't see one down the road. They're worried to death. They're scared to death. But you know what? If they put their little hands in His big hand and say, Lord, whatever comes or whatever goes, I'm going to trust you. And let Him handle that. They'd find out what all of us already know. That when I can't handle my problems, He's where I go. Amen. When I need Him, He's where I go. When I can't protect my vineyard myself, I go to Him because I know He can. Amen. Let's watch the little things. I said I wasn't going to hold you for just a few minutes. But the little things are what will destroy a church. Not only will they destroy a church, they'll destroy a home. They'll destroy a nation. I could get into a lot more things about the little things in the house between mom and daddy. about the little things in the workplace, you know, and all this. That's what I'd intended on doing, but I've already said enough. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Every one of you know what I'm talking about. And we've got to guard against those little things. We've got to guard against them in our home. We've got to guard against them in the workplace. We've got to guard against them in the church. Wherever we at, we need to be on guard. Not for the big foxes, but for the little ones. Because they're the ones that'll destroy you if you're not careful. May God bless you is our prayer.